Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the High Return Real Estate Show. I am here with my amazing, fantastic, wise, learned business partner, Mr. Jack Gibson. How you doing, Jack?
Yeah, man, you're laying it on thick today, bro. That's good.
Yeah, well, the holidays coming up. I got some favors I want to ask you about later.
Some greenbacks.
Oh yeah, maybe something like that. So anyway, I am so excited today. Some of you that know my history is, very much in the digital marketing space, and we have an amazing guest today. I don't want to say too much. I'll give her a proper introduction after the break, but she's a really good friend of mine from the digital marketing days in Austin, and we have a ton of mutual friends. So. And she's just really a wealth of information. So I'm very, very excited, Jack, for you to get to know her and for our listeners to get to know her. But today we're going to talk a lot about influence. And it's a topic that often gets glossed over in the real estate investing space because everything is always about numbers and crunching and what's a good deal and all that other kind of stuff. But what's interesting is that most of the real money is made and cash is raised by people who are influencers. And today, our guest is someone who's going to teach us all about how to have influence. So this is going to be a very, very valuable episode. So stay tuned. Very, very excited. Welcome to the High Return Real Estate Show, the podcast for heavy hitters. Two men, one mission. It's time to build your empire. Welcome back, everybody, to the High Return Real Estate Show, the podcast for heavy hitters. And today, we have got truly a heavy hitter with us today. I want to introduce to you a really fantastic woman. Her name is Heather Ann Havenwood. She is the CEO of Like a Boss Digital Media. She has an influencer marketing agency, which they specifically work with brands and influencers and thought leaders. And it's across a lot of different niches. She's involved in crypto, blockchain, real estate, alternative technology marketers. And the girl is up to some really crazy, cool stuff. I can't even read through the whole rest of this bio, but my good friend, Miss Heather Ann Havenwood. Welcome, Heather.
Thank you. That's what happens, Shecky, when you get older. Your bio gets longer. So I'm trying to, because you're starting to get into a lot more stuff. So I'm super sorry. By the way, can I call you Shecky on here? Am I allowed?
Of course.
To?
Everybody does. Yeah.
Okay. I've known you for Shecky for like a decade. I've known you for like a decade, right?
Yeah. And you're still talking to me. It's amazing.
I know. It's amazing.
It's pretty unusual for women, right, Shecky?
Yeah, pretty unusual. Let's see. There's like my mom and my sister. Those are the only two I can really remember.
Right. And me. Okay.
Yeah. Everybody else stopped talking. Yeah, it's amazing. So anyway, Heather, let's go. I want to go back and just kind of set this up because obviously most of our audience is real estate investors. Yeah. And you have a long history in real estate and working with some people that are true like legends and giants in the industry. Tell us a little bit about, your start and real estate investing and all that was kind of churning before you got into this influencer marketing stuff.
Thanks. So first of all, Jack and Shecky, thank you. That's kind of a handful. Jack and Shecky. That's awesome. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I kind of want to share a story just because I think every single person listening who's a real estate investor will get this story. It's kind of how I got started as an entrepreneur,
Sure.
I was at corporate America, I'm 25, 26. I was in business to business sales. I was thrown to the wolves. I was the only female out of all my coworkers. There were males. And in fact, they had a bet against me, the guys in the office, which was everybody, that I wasn't going to last 3 months. And I did. I actually ended up being there for 4 years, which is the B2B outside sales world, which was like a long time, And I actually ended up being number one in the country out of like 40 guys in the office. And I thought I was getting like at the pat on the head. I was waiting for my pink Cadillac to show up, like my Rolex, I'm waiting for like the stars to align or something. And instead I got like Nick. They took all my accounts and said, by the way, you still have the same quota and we're giving all your accounts to your mail assistant. So it was kind of this moment in my life of like, oh, corporate America kind of sucks.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to do. So all my friends were like, well, just go get another sales job. You have experience. And it was one of these moments where you're just kind of like, I don't know what I want to do, but like not that, you know? I think we've all kind of had that in our entrepreneurial world. So I kind of sat back for a couple months. I had a little bit of cash. I sat back and none of my friends were entrepreneurs. None of my friends were real estate investors. No one in my life was doing anything like that. And this is pre-Facebook people, right? Probably a lot of people know that. This is 01. This is 99, 01. And I'm sitting there on my friend's couch. She's got married. Her husband's flipping the channel on a Sunday. He stops to go get a beer from the fridge. And he lands on an infomercial. And it was the American Cash Flow Institute for notes. And all I remember is the guy said, do you want to control your life? Do you want to make more money? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, come to our seminar tomorrow at 1 o'clock, you know, at the blah, 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 North Dallas Hotel. And I'm like grabbing a pen, 1 o'clock. Yeah. So I'm right. Y'all probably heard of these things, these seminars. They still do these today. So I go to the seminar. I'm sitting in the seat, no clue what I'm in for. 90-minute presentation, basically how to buy and sell notes, mortgage notes, right? Don't know what that is. No clue. Never heard of it in my life. And all I hear is that you can be in sales. You can do this. I'm like, I'm in, right? And then they said the magic words. They said $3,000. I'm like, I don't have that. Then the magic words were, for your spouse, it's 1,000. Like, sweet. So I nudged the stranger next to me, total stranger. This is what we entrepreneurs do. We're resourceful, right? Nudge a stranger next to me. I'm like, hey, can I be your spouse? He's like, sure. What's your name? True story. So I go to the back of the room. I'm like, hi, I'm Bob's spouse. And they're like, right, you know, but this is a seminar company, right? So they're like, we'll take your money. We'll take your cash. Give me the $1,000 because they're on commission. So I sit down, different last name, different address, different credit card number, the whole thing. I show up the next week for the 3-day event. Okay. I used to sit there and, you know, teach people how to buy and sell houses and real estate, the whole thing. And this is where the magic happened. First of all, my husband, Bob, never showed up. They're like, where's Bob? I'm like, he's sick. I don't know. Lied out of my teeth. They took my money anyway. And I remember the guy in the front of the room, the speaker, was like, you're different. We know you lied. You're resourceful. You're a little fiery. You're kind of like us. What's your deal? And that's when he said, you should start traveling with us. And so I moved to Orlando the next month, and I started traveling the country doing real estate investing seminars, the front end, the back end, the 3-day events. I ended up working with Robert Allen Institute, American Cash Flow Institute, Ron LeGrand. I started buying and selling my own houses in Orlando. I started a seminar company, a consulting seminar company. I started helping speakers so like every aspect of the business, right? From real estate investing to actually the education, which is a very different side, I started to learn entrepreneurship, mindset, Dan Kennedy, Joe Sugarman. That's where I met Joe Sugarman and Alex Mendosian and Armin Moore back in like 02, 03, 04. You know, and so I just want to give you an understanding. That's kind of where I came from and how I got into this business.
Yeah, that's awesome. So how did that then evolve into some of the influencer stuff? I mean, I guess it could be said, and I said kind of at the top of the show that, you know, in order for you to really put, let's just say bigger deals together, you know, you're probably going to have some influence over people. In order to look, we make no bones about it too. You know, in order for Jack and I, for our company to be successful, you know, we have this podcast and, you know, we have a lot of media online and we talk to a lot of different people. And we know that we're not going to grow our company unless we also are influencers too. So we totally get that. Yeah. But I just, given that you are an expert in the field, what I want you to do is kind of just, you know, walk us through like, how does it start? How does it grow? How does it, you know, like what are the components? What makes up a good influencer?
Yeah, there's a couple things. So I think one of the best case studies for influence in real estate is Trump, you know, minus that he's in political right now, but he knew back then that other people's money, OPM, right? Other people's money, they want to put their money with confidence. So in the real estate market, and this is realtor market too, and mortgage even, is that at the end of the day, we don't know what people know or don't know. We want to put our money, our time, our energy, our trust, because when you're doing a business deal, and any business deal, but real estate, there's a lot of trust involved, right? On so many different aspects, from management to buying to selling to all those pieces. And so we want to do business with people that we trust. Well, how do you create trust? Part of trust is authority. Either, Shecky's great at a recommendation, or it's like, I've seen this person, I've been following him online, I've been following his articles, he knows what he's talking about. I think I'm willing to put my 50, 30, 50, 100 grand, whatever, in his pocket to go get me more money, right? So it's that trust factor. It's a very different conversation with real estate investing than it is anything. Even though the deal might be great, right? The house, that we still want to know we're doing business with people we know, like, and trust. And know, like, and trust comes from authority. And that's why one of the reasons, if you look at Trump as a great case study back in the 80s, why he did what he did, because he knew, and there was a point where he was so broke, he even said, I'm more broke than the guy who's on the street at New York, because he knew if he stayed in the authority that the money would come back and that he could still use other people's money to make the money, because he was confident in his ability. But how do you stay confident in your ability? And that is the authority piece, the know, like, and trust. Well, how do you do know, like, and trust in today's world? This is what your question was. How do you do that in today's world? Because Jim Rohn said, this is old school 80s. I feel so old, right? Jim Rohn said that you are paid for your value in the marketplace. Well, he said this in the 80s. Okay. But what the hell is that today? In today's world, as we're sitting here. Well, in today's world, what that is two things. I call it the king and the queen. The king is content, right? Content's king, right? The queen, so I think the queen is over the king. I mean, I'm a female.
Yeah, of course.
Of course. Are you shocked? Are you shocked? Can we just have a shock for a
Right.
second? Okay. The queen is engagement.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to have the king before you have the queen.
Right.
So how do you do engagement? Let's a couple things. Let's start with this. So first of all, there's some stats here. Over 51% of Howard Stern's listeners hate him. Okay. Over 53% of Rush Limbaugh's listeners hate him. That's engagement. Okay. Like him or not, same thing with the president. I'm sure the stats on the president are even another conversation. That's engagement. You ever watch his Twitter account? It's like massive engagement. Okay. We're all not doing that, but you start with the basics. The king and the queen. The king and the queen of content engagement. The lowest hanging fruit that I think anyone can do, even if they're a local realtor, a local real estate investor, a local chiropractor, doesn't matter. They could start with being the authority in their field or in their neighborhood, and that is through a podcast. Old school realtor, right? Old school real estate investing, owning a particular market or owning a particular zip code or owning an area. As you know, in Shecky, I live in Barton Hills, 78704, right?
Yep.
78704 in Austin is a lot like 90210. Okay.
Yep.
Beverly Hills. The moment you're in 78704, you're like in this elite, snobby, weird place. And I love it. And anything that says 78704 or Barton Hills, it's like we're in this little neighborhood, one of our own. I'm surprised there isn't a realtor doing 78704 Barton Hills podcast. They have newsletters on it, they have all kinds of stuff, but they're not doing a podcast. I'm just giving you an example. That would create an authority. There is actually a real estate company here called 78704 Realty, right? They obviously got that, but they're not creating the new media side, which is understanding that we as human beings, we listen more than we view. We're doing video today. You're probably most likely listening to us on an audio version of this across different mediums, right? And there's a reason why Netflix, the largest video paid distribution channel in the world, right, just did a deal over the summer with SiriusXM, the largest audio distribution channel in the world. That's because Netflix knows they can only reach so far. They have to move into audio. So that's why I think podcasting, what we're doing today, is a baseline to become authority, to become an influencer.
Cool. So a couple of sidebars. Jack, I've often said this to you, and Heather is supporting this, is that we are in the trust business. That we're not really in the real estate business. And so I'm happy to have the the validation, Heather, from you that that's indeed exactly what's going on. And then, of course, the other question that begs to be asked is, okay, if you have the king and queen, and if content is king and engagement is queen, how is it that is good engagement coming just because of the quality of the content, or is there another little, magic piece to that helps further engagement? I mean, because like you bring up guys like Rush Limbaugh and Howard Stern, right? And I can see how easy it would be to hate both of those guys.
Right. Right.
And,
Alex Jones.
Yeah, they're controversial for sure. But I don't know,
Dave
is
Ramsey.
it because
Dave
they're
Ramsey.
just so, is it just their delivery that's so annoying that makes for the engagement? I don't know. Like, what's the secret sauce here?
Okay, so first of all, I have to ask, does Jack, do you have a question? I feel like you're the ignored third party.
Well, like look at this, vibe between you two going way back 10 years. So, he
okay.
knows what to ask, but I'll pipe in here a bit. Appreciate that.
You're welcome. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Okay, just making sure. I'm checking in with you, Jack. I'm just checking in. All right, so king and queen. Let's go to some other people that have a massive amount of influence. Oprah, she's not controversial. She's not an expert at anything, though. She's actually just she asked a lot of questions. She was a Napoleon Hill of her era, right? So there's that. Another person is Gary Vee, Grant Cardone, Tony Robbins. I mean, all these people are massive influencers. But let's break it down, because these are big, big names. Let's break it down also in what are the constructs of each of those. And the constructs is as commitment and consistency. Right. So commitment and consistency is really, really key. But I'll give you a kind of a local example. There's a guy here in Austin that I met. He's technically a realtor, technically. But I sat down and I had a ton of conversation with him. Like, this guy knows the ins and outs, not only of this area of 78704, but he knows the builders. He knows the codes. He knows the right codes to know to what kind of building you should put on this kind of resident. Like, he knows all he showed me to his house. He goes, you see why I put the fence there and this there? That means that I can do a duplex and this. He's like, I've read the codes, Heather, of building residential houses in our neighborhood. And I know how to effectively go to the next level so that I know how to basically make the best investment. So if I'm going to build a house in our area, because I'm in that transition area, people are buying houses for nothing, then right? He's like, if you want to do that in this area, you go to that guy. And I told him, I go, you need to be having a show or a newsletter or something, because he's so brilliant. And he goes, I'm technically a realtor, but I deal with all the builders and people give me money and I go and build houses, and he does all this cool stuff. And like, he's kind of this secret little dude. You know what I mean? But he's also been in the area for 25 years. He used to be a bartender. The guy's like connected, right? So I'm like, he's got a massive authority and massive influence. He is missing from me. I think I would listen to his show, because he's the guy who I watch him. He's sitting over there reading the impact news going, okay, so in South Lamar and Congress, they're going to be creating a new road. And that means the zoning's going to change here. Okay, go buy property there. He's that guy. And I think that that's a big missing in the real estate market, in the RIA market, is understanding how much authority and influence you can really be, and that the money will just come pouring to you, right? People will say, oh, this guy knows what he's doing. Here's my money. Just here. Like, go do your thing, right? You've read the codes. Like, that makes no sense to me here. So I think that's the big missing. And that's where engagement comes in and commitment and consistency comes in. He's the guy, literally, every time I see him, he's reading the impact news and how they're restructuring South Lamar and South Congress.
So a lot of our listeners, they're high earning individuals, obviously. They're entrepreneurs, a lot of professionals, doctors, lawyers, tech guys, all kinds of, typically making over 100, 200 grand a year, right? So for them, like, what's the plan look like for them? Or, assuming that they want to scale their business, right? Like, if they're happy with what they're doing, then why do what you're telling them to do, right? All good. But if they're really trying to, 5, 10x their income, scale their business, what does their content plan look like specifically? I mean, you say, okay, let's launch a podcast. We agree. Shecky, I had to pitch him on this for months before he finally would jump in and do it. But now here we are, 50 plus episodes. So what does that look like, Heather?
So let's take it 2 segments. It's easier. Let's take the professional route. Someone's listening, and I know a lot of your clients are clients that go, here's money. I want to be a passive investor. I got my own thing going on.
Exactly.
I got my chiropractic business. I got my lawyer business. I got my own life here, dude.
Yep.
I trust you. Dude, take care of my money. All right.
That's
There's
right.
that guy. And I want to talk to that person right now, because even with their business, wherever it's at, and their success rate, which is probably really grand if they're with you, they can take it to the next level. So be the one in their field. So I had a friend of mine who was a business bankruptcy attorney in Orlando. Like, he was the guy, and he really built himself as that guy in that space. That's something they can do even on a larger scale on podcasting. So imagine if this guy, he was doing the bankruptcy for Delta, for 10 years. They were bankrupt for 10 years. So if he started actually doing a podcast back then where it's sharing about business bankruptcy, is a very specific niche, he's the guy. So no money more just flood into him. So let's say chiropractic. That's a good one too. If you're a local business and you're a chiropractor, let's say, people also go to you for referrals for nutraceuticals. They go to referrals for weight loss. They go to you referrals for all kinds of things. What if you were the one interviewing local businesses or national, international businesses, right, in that field? That's how you take it from you're just a person who has expertise to an authority beyond that. And that is something really similar with a podcast and book. Book is okay, but in today's medium, you've got to stay on the cutting edge, and a book takes too long, right? Nutraceuticals, things change. New research comes out. You want to be the one who's on top of what's happening today, the news of, right? And you can do that in any industry, any kind of lawyer, any kind of dentist, any kind of chiropractor, and any kind of anything. You can be the one where you're basically becoming the center of influence in that field. And that might be just being interviewing other people in your field, other dentists. If you're a dentist, you're maybe interview someone who does orthopedic, right? Or whatever. So part of the process is understanding to get outside of their head and be more of an influence, because people always get attracted to the connector. And with professionals, they're busy. They're freaking busy. And that's one thing that my company does, just to be full transparent. I launch people's shows so that the professional, the most they have to do when they're working with me is maybe 4 hours a month. I do everything else, right? So part of the process is understanding 4 hours a month, what is that worth to be able to create massive authority, being the one in your field that people will fly from wherever they're at to come see you, and you can charge triple prices. That's the key. As far as real estate investing, I learned this from Laura Langmeyer. I did some work with her. And I remember she was doing these big deals, she still does. And I thought to myself, why are they working with her? Maybe she's not the best person. Maybe she doesn't know what she's doing, but she has a great way to structure herself as the authority, as the one that people want to give the money to her. Even though she pours out the information on how to do their own deals, people want to do business with her. They want to say, hey, by the way, Laurel owns 10% of this hotel deal we're about to do. It's kind of cool, or Robert Allen. That happened all the time to Ron LeGrand. People would just literally throw him deals. It got to a point with that he literally created another company that he owned 20% of that company that they just pulled the deals to, because he's like, I can't deal with all this. Right? He just owned 20%. So he could say, yeah, I have a deal and it's with Ron LeGrand. So it creates that authority and that safety. So these are just the types of things you could do. And then I was sharing with y'all earlier that there's a reason why every time he did it, Ron LeGrand would always sell a speaker boot camp, basically information marketing speaker boot camp that taught people what he did. And he sold it at a wholesale, basically 3-day, $6,000 wholesale seminar. He sold those people, and they were already paid $6,000, a $5,000 to $8,000 speaker boot camp. And he sold it out. Why? Because all those people, even they're buying and selling houses, they're professionals. They know that when they're a speaker, they have authority, and they wanted more authority in their life, in their businesses, whatever that was.
Yeah.
What about this? Did you get the second part about the entrepreneur, like in terms versus the professional?
Say again.
So you said, okay, we're going to segment this out 2 different ways, with the professional and then with the entrepreneur.
Yeah. So how I segment it out, how I segment it out, I'm more than happy to go down further, is one, I segmented down the professional, lawyer, doctor, like that, right? Sure. Even the doctor and researcher world, even if they work for a hospital, imagine if they were doing a podcast on their research. I just launched a podcast for a guy. No kidding. This was amazing. He's the sweetest guy on the planet, but he's a doctor for schizophrenia patients. Very interesting story. And he started a podcast. He's like, I don't know who's going to listen to this thing. It started becoming a lot of the caregivers and the people in that industry listening to him, because he said, Heather, there are these people that I have admired from afar as researchers and other doctors. I called them, they're like in Harvard. He calls them and says, I have a podcast. Can I interview you? He's like, the door is just swung open. He's like, my network has just expanded, and now I'm helping people who are the caregivers of people with schizophrenia, and I'm helping people all over the world. Like, his business is blown up, right? And that's a very interesting niche, okay? Very interesting niche. But you can see the power in that from a networking perspective and being the voice for other people and to help them. And you can do that in any field.
Sounds like we need to have Donald Trump on the show.
Right. Did that help though, Jack?
Commercial. Right.
That's great. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, just like everything that you're saying, I'm like, are we authorities yet, Shecky? Like, I don't know.
Well, you are. I can't speak for myself.
Like,
you for sure.
No, we've got work to do, bro. We've got.
Well, the fact that you guys are doing it, people know, like, and trust you because they can hear you and they can connect with you. There's one thing about reading someone's book. There's very different by sitting here and listening to you and feeling you and your energy and how you talk. And like, it's a very different know, like, and trust, And in today's world, networking's more challenging. I mean, you and I met obviously at the Internet Marketing Party, Jeff, but yeah, that's the only event I go to networking wise. Yeah. I do my networking here on podcasts, and I've met people all over the world because I have a podcast. And what's really cool about that is it opens doors. I've reached out to people that they're like big, and I'm like, hey, I have a podcast already. And my podcast is now radio, nationally syndicated radio. I'm like, hey, we're a radio show. Can I interview them? They're like, yeah, cool.
Sure. I love to talk. Yeah, why not?
Exactly. I haven't tried Alex Jones yet, by the way. I've actually wanted to reach out to Alex Jones.
That'd be a good one. I want to just address this whole done for you kind of posture, because here's what we find really interesting. Our company has evolved into being much, 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 much more of a done for you solution. When we originally got started, we were just kind of selling some investment properties and, showing people good numbers and things like that. But some of them weren't finished rehab. Some of them were, some of them were tenanted. Some of them weren't. And once we started really dialing in our processes and saying, hey, look, what is it if we were like the guy that you described earlier? I know we keep saying, doctors, chiropractors, lawyers, but whatever. But the professional who's very, very busy, and they want to be a real estate investor, and we're busy and we're real estate investors, what the F do we want? Well, we literally want to be lazy Americans, right? We want to have everything served to us on a freaking silver platter, right? I want this property done, rehabbed, fully inspected by a third party. I want all the issues that came up on the inspection cured. I want the damn thing with a warranty. I want it tenanted. I want it performing. I want it professionally managed. And then, and only then, am I interested in purchasing it, right? And I'm being a little bit superlative, right, for the sake of argument. But ultimately, that's what we ended up building as far as our systems. And as much of a pain in the ass as it was to get to that point, it was totally worth it because our sales are very, very easy now. Like, it's just, this is what we do. It's handed to you on a silver platter. So there, in my mind, there's a ton of value in, as an entrepreneur, in doing that for your customers. And I know that your company is doing that very much. So I want to give you the opportunity really to tell us a little bit more about it, because it's just fascinating, what you've put together. It's like, okay, yeah, I set up podcasts for people. Great. That's what's one sentence. But like, if somebody comes to you and says, Heather, gosh darn it, I want to be an influencer. Help me. What are you going to do for me? Walk us through what exactly you do for your clients.
Thank you for that. Thanks for the opportunity. And I can really honor the professional. They don't have a lot of time for this. And you have to think of a podcast as not a podcast. A podcast is just a tool it's a brand asset. Okay. So a podcast is a brand asset to move you into influence, which takes you into the king and queen, right? And the king and queen, again, is content and engagement. And when you have content and engagement, you have a brand asset, which turns into money no matter what kind of business you're in. So you have to really think about it that way. So on my show, I'm nationally syndicated radio. Yeah, but I'm also on iHeart, Spotify, soon to be, coming soon, Pandora, iTunes, Google Play, and about 52 other apps I don't even know the names. Okay. There's a massive amount of authority to that, but there's also that's a brand asset. That's an asset that you're literally creating over time. So what we do is I work with professionals. I have a lot of clients that do this. They come to me and go, look, I already have a successful business. This is just one more thing on my plate, right? How in the world am I going to do this? And I say to them, the minimum we do is four a month, basically 4 content pieces a month. You could do them all on the same day. So it could be basically up to 4 hours in a month. That is all they do. That is their job, is to come to, let's say, the Zoom call or whatever, and basically give their content, whatever that is. We do everything else, right? From the brand asset to the strategy of that, to creating the show, the description of the show, the title of the show, the go with all the details, the show notes. We upload it to a blog. We could create it into an audio to a video. We can take the audio and turn it into a book or an ebook. I mean, on and on. We repurpose it for you. We do the full launch process for you. So where none of your staff, because I'm assuming if you'll say you're a chiropractor for a second or a dentist, you probably don't have someone on your staff that's hanging out going, oh, I know how to do podcasting. Like, I don't know how to do that. Right. Yeah. So we do everything for you. It's done for you. Your job is literally to show up 4 hours a month. Okay. A month. Could be on a Sunday, could be on a Saturday. Everything's pre-done. So it could be on a Sunday, it could be 2:00 in the morning. And you create content, whatever that is. It could be interviews. It could be just, hey, I just read a Harvard research on blah, 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 and something new you need to know about in our field. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It could be 20, 30 minutes. We do everything else for you. The key of a show in the media is the branding. How are we branding you? And that's where the hard part comes in. That's where what I call the heavy lifting at the beginning comes in. What is your purpose here? Is this a long-term investment, short-term investment? What are we doing? And I work with you on the brand strategy, and that's where you work with me. But it's completely a done-for-you process. I even have a client, take it to the next level, done for you. I have a client where she didn't even want to be on the show. Okay? So she pays me, I'm the talent. So she says, hey, I want you to interview this person. This person's great for our audience. I don't even want to be the person. She pays me a talent fee to not only produce the show and everything, but then I'm also the one that interviews. You could even go to that level if you so just want to. But I suggest you want to be the authority. That's your goal.
Well, I think it's great. And what's cool about what you're doing, especially from an entrepreneurial standpoint, is you're really, Jack alluded to my resistance, I guess, to starting a podcast. And it's not that I didn't want to start a podcast. It's just that there's,
here it comes.
Like, notice he's defending himself.
Wait a minute. Let me finish my thought. any businessman, any entrepreneur, we're all entrepreneurs, we're freaking busy. We got a lot of shit on our plate, right? And then I start thinking about all the things that you just mentioned. Oh crap, now we gotta edit, we gotta get this thing published out there to all the things. Like there's just gonna be a million other things to do that I just don't want to jack with. Well, okay, now we're jacking with it anyway, but that's another story. But what I love about what you're up to is you are really, that was a barrier for me. And you are completely removing that barrier for anybody that's entrepreneurial. I mean, clearly it's not free. They're going to write you a check for doing that, and happily so, right? I mean, because of the value that you provide. But there's
a good example of this. There's a client right now who he is an expert. Like the guy's impressive. He gets kids into colleges like Harvard, like that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
The guy's impressive. And he has clients and a lot of referral. But he said to me, he goes, look, my business is good right now as referral. However, I don't have an ongoing, really good marketing plan. And I know that I need to be out there educating parents so that they can then know, like, and trust me and come to me. I know I need to be doing that. How the hell do I do that? I'm extremely freaking busy. Am I going to write an article? I'm not going to do it, Heather. I'm like, exactly. You need to be out there doing, 4 things a month. You can even use your, kids as case study. Oh, I just had this kid, he came to me and this is the deal. And now he's on his way to Harvard, whatever the case study is. And he can do that in his sleep. And then he's done with it. He sends us over the audio and video. If you want to do both, you can. And we repurpose the heck out of it. And now parents who are out there going, holy crap, how we get our kid into a good school. Click, 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 click. Listen. Boom. I mean, you got to have a lead structure of your business. And it's the best way to do it. I think, honestly, here's why I think it's better than Google PPC and Facebook ads. Here's why. It's forever. You put out evergreen content about chiropractic, dentist, and how to get your kids in colleges out there forever. And you do that. Let's say you do that 50 weeks out of the year. That's 50 pieces of content repurposed at least 5 to 7 times. That's authority. That's a brand asset.
Yeah.
That's power. That's Jim Rohn. That's value in the marketplace. You're paid for your value in the marketplace. We've all been there in every industry, no matter what you've been in. You've heard this. Why does he get the business and I don't? I'm so much better than that guy. It's because they put themselves out. They self-promote. And this is the easiest way to self-promote yourself. And we do everything for you, literally.
So question. So I was just listening to Mike Diller's Self-Made Man.
Great guy. He's here in Austin.
Yeah, he's awesome. I love his show. And he said that, he had a guest on that was specialized in YouTube videos. And so according to, of course, his perspective, the guest, right? He said that YouTube was by far and away his best platform, that it beat everything else. Thoughts on YouTube, and do you use it? How do you utilize it for clients?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about each modality for just a second. I'll go to this for just a second. So I do everything in all of them. So YouTube, I do use completely. So if this was my show, you guys are on my show, which you will be soon. I take this content where we're doing the video, I repurpose it onto YouTube as the video, but I also repurpose it again, just in audio. So I'm always using YouTube. Okay. However, I have seen that my greatest ROI, or the greatest exposure I see for me, is in order of the following: LinkedIn, Facebook, and then YouTube. Okay. Now that's because I'm a professional going after more professionals. And so LinkedIn by far is my number one source. And because I know there's more professionals listening, I think that's a number one source. However, it's not an either or, it's an and. So everything I put on LinkedIn goes onto YouTube and vice versa, because it's a search engine. I just find that LinkedIn just has more eyeballs in the world of B2B, B2C, and professionalism. However, everything I put on is on my Facebook page as well. The problem with Facebook is Facebook's not a search engine, right? We can't go into Facebook and type in like, how do I be better at influence? And I doubt you'll get my video up. Go to YouTube, do the same thing. You probably get my video up, right? Yeah. So you have to think of it that way. I say all of them. But if I look at my numbers, my specific numbers, okay, for me, I have found that my numbers. Good example today, I put on a 10-minute video, 6-minute and a half minute video on a specific topic, very specific topic, 6 minutes on LinkedIn. Within 6 hours, I had 867 views, and I haven't looked at it in 3 hours. My
Fabulous.
biggest video on YouTube ever is maybe like 150, right? So I'm not against YouTube. It's at the infancy, and it is growing, and it's not an either or, it's in all of it. All of it. So we gotta put you in all. But that's why I like podcasting coming from that view, because you create one show like right here, and you guys can put this everywhere. Medium, Tumblr, Twitch, Twitter, all of it, YouTube, everything, so that it's everywhere, not just one.
Good.
And I'm pro all of them.
Love it. Well, God, I hate to be the killjoy here, but I'm looking at the clock, and
you're such killjoy, Shecky.
I just put a damper.
Jack and I were just getting started.
I know. Maybe we'll have to have you back
for another hour.
I know.
Yeah. Shecky,
you can leave. Jack and I will hang out and talk more.
So, question: I shouldn't even say if, for the listeners that want to find out more about you and how to reach you and whatever, how's the best way to do that?
Best way is go to my website, heatherhavenwood.com. However, for people here, I'd like to give a huge discount for them. I want to know they're coming from you guys. I know the kind of caliber of client they are. I'm very clear you guys attract a high caliber person who's listening. So my best way to get a hold of me actually is Facebook Messenger. It's like the best way. It gets right to me. My email is great and stuff like that, but I have an assistant and all that. So if you can go to Facebook and type in Heather Havenwood and go to my messenger and just go directly and tell me that you came from the Shecky and Jack show, then let me know and we'll set up a time right away.
The High Return Real Estate Show just became the Shecky and Jack show. I love it.
It's got
I
a
like
nice
how I got top billing too.
I was going to say it could be the Jack and Shecky show. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that either.
The Jack and Shecky show. Jack and Jeff show sounds a little, I don't know, I don't like that. I just like the Jack and Shecky show. What's up, Jack and Shecky?
All right.
But go to my Facebook.
Wait, one more question, Shecky. Yeah. What's the one question, Heather, that I can't believe you almost forgot it, man. What's the one question that we didn't ask you, Heather, that we should have?
What Shecky was like 10 years ago.
Oh boy.
I'm kidding. He was still a sweetheart.
Just as amazing.
I don't care that much. So
do I care?
None of the listeners.
So I think the question would be this, right? So at the end of the day, no matter what industry you're in, we are all in the H2H business. And the H2H business is a human-to-human business. So no matter if you're a B2C or B2B, doesn't matter what kind of business. At the end of the day, we are all in the know, like, and trust business. So if you make money or give money or make money or create money, whatever it is, Wall Street, doesn't matter. We are in the H2H. And so podcasting is just getting started, and that's a broad word for a very large modality. And it is also a very good entry point. And we are at a phase in our medium, Facebook, all these things, is that people want to move from social into know, like, and trust. And we want to do business with people that we know, like, and trust. And the easiest way to do that right now, and the brand asset, is podcasting.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Fabulous. Yeah. And I can tell you from our experience, one of the most common forms of feedback that we get on our content and on our show that we hear over and over again is this, like, hey, you guys are just real. You guys are regular guys. And that's really by intent. I did not want to have a flashy show. I wanted to have just some really, really great conversations with great people and bring good content out there to our investor base. Yeah. And so as we continue to go and teach people more about what we've been learning in the investor space and bring in more experts, the same thing. We just want, like, hey, let's just have regular conversations. Mm-hmm. I don't want to do a lot of the flashy stuff and, start off videos with the fancy $400,000 sports car behind me, and like, that just stuff just makes me gag. So anyway, I really want to thank you, Heather, for not just all the value that you bring, but just your energy and your friendship, and it's very much appreciated.
You're welcome. Thank you, Jack. I won't tell anybody what you were like 10 years ago. I promise.
Okay. Thank God for that. And Jack, thank you as always.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, listeners. And we'll make sure to put the links in the show notes. And really appreciate you all. And we'll talk to you very soon.
All right. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Awesome.